Right, so let's set up an example using all these techniques. So I've opened up the file, lesson 210 example 1. It's just a JPEG file. So I'm going to turn this image I'm going to clean it up a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is go over to my layers. I'm going to make a copy of my background layer. So I'm going to right click on it, go to duplicate layer, and just hit OK. So now I should have two versions of it. Right, one of them should be locked still. So I'm going to turn the one that's locked, I'm going to turn that one off. And now essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tracing around there, making a selection around here and start deleting all these pixels. Right. So I've already, on a different version, I've already set that up just to make this video go a little bit quicker. I'm going to come over here to my layers, and I'm going to right click and select these pixels. And instead of deleting now, because if I hit the delete key now, let me copy this layer. If I hit the delete key now, it's going to essentially delete the inside part. So what I want to do is I want to, now that I've made the selection all the way around, go to select inverse and hit delete. So it deletes everything around here. I have two more very quick selections I just want to load in. I want to select those pixels, make sure I'm on the correct layer, hit delete. And select those pixels. Again, make sure I'm on the correct layer and hit delete on my keyboard. And I've now deleted those pixels, deselected those. So now essentially what I'm starting off with is something like this. And I can come back over here to my layers. I'm going to turn my background layer, turn it back on just temporarily. I'm just going to use it as reference. I'm going to make a selection, a large selection back here. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to line the back of this where the material is, trying to line up the back with my selection. Because I'm going to fill this in with a solid black color. So I'm going to go back to my layers, make a new layer. So I have a new layer, layer 4. I'm going to go to edit, fill. I'm going to just fill this in with black and hit OK. So if I turn this off, move this down below, hit Control D to deselect, I've now recreated the base that it was sitting on. All right, so now all I want to do is fill in the rest of this. All right, but I don't want it to be black. I want it to just be like a shade of gray. I'm going to come over here and do like a medium gray color. Hit OK. Go back to my layers, make a new layer. And this layer, I'm just going to fill in the entire thing. I'm going to go to Edit Fill. Instead of black, I'm going to select my foreground color. I'm going to select foreground because this is my foreground color over here. And hit OK. I'm just going to drag this below the black. And I can see it kind of, I like the color tone in here. I like the way it looks, but the only difference is, the only part that it doesn't really work is it doesn't really work with some of the black that was the highlights of the black, because the picture was taken with a black background, and it definitely doesn't work with this black. It was like a clear acrylic, and I can see the black screen behind here, and it'll take too much time to go in here and make a selection and clean this up. So instead what I'll have to do is, instead of having this gray, medium gray color tone, I'm going to have to do a slightly darker gray. Go back to my layers, make sure I'm on the correct layer, and just fill that in again. Edit Fill with foreground, and they're slightly darker, but at least now it works with the highlights over here and this black part over here. So there, I've cleaned up that image. I'll just take one extra step, adding an adjustment. So go over here to my layers. I will select the pixels of just this selection, add an adjustment. I'll just do a levels. I'm just going to just adjust it just slightly. I can go back to my layers and see the difference. Just making the color just a little bit richer. I'll just leave it like this. And now I can see the difference between my original one, so I'll turn the background on. I can see the difference between my original. I'm going to click and hold down all the eyeballs so I can turn them on at the same time, and the after. And I'm just going to take one extra last step. I'm just going to put this on an 11 by 17 board just so I can print it out and see the before and after. So I'm going to come over here to go to File, New, do an 11 by 17. 11 by 17, I'll keep the resolution really high at 300 and hit Create. So here's my 11 by 17 board. I'm going to come back over here to the image that I just adjusted, and I'm going to hold down the Command key or the Shift key and select all the layers and adjustments that I just used. And I'm going to right click and duplicate all the layers to my new 11 by 17, the untitled one I just made. It's a little large, so let me scale it down just a little bit. Go to my layers, make sure all of these are selected. I'm going to hold, again, it's over here to edit, free transform, Control T, and scale this down. And I'll leave one here. Hit return, hit enter. And then to the background copy, I'm going to select that one, just the background copy. And I'm going to move this one down. Turn these back on. It's now on a single page. I can see the before and after of my final edited Photoshop image.